Okay, we are live and ready to go.
All right, welcome everyone to this Millburn School District 24 public hearing where we are going to transfer interest from funds in the budget. Do we start with a roll call, please?
Ms. Boss? Mr. Coleman?
Present.
Mr. Guziak?
Here.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Pederini?
Present.
Ms. Roberts?
We stand for pledge.
You get Ms. Boss.
No.
Oh, she's not.
Yes. Yeah, Vanessa's on.
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so it usually starts with the president's remarks, which are basically, budgets are very complicated in school districts, and we have to do everything out in the open, so it's transparent and everyone can see. But they have to be, there's categories where money has to be spent on certain things, and there's only certain times, and there's a lot of restrictions on how that money moves around to make sure that it's used in the right place and everything's honest and above board, and we're not being frivolous with the taxpayer money. So the board the resident presenters concerning the proposal fund transfers. So are there any? No. Okay. The board clerk will record the names of residents. They're not here. There are no presentations. Okay.
Nope. No, this is something we do every year. At the end of the year, we transfer the interest that we earned in those accounts because we can transfer the interest from certain accounts into those that we need it. So we transfer interest where we need it. We get a little bit of money from interest that we carry over through the bank. It's pretty small at this point. In the future, that might be a little bit larger number as the interest rates are starting to climb. So that's somewhat good news for the district, but the reason for those climbing interest rates are not great. As we all know, the rate of inflation is going to outpace what we earn in interest. So, but nonetheless, we have that opportunity to transfer those dollars where we need them. When we do the levy, if you recall in the fall, when we do the levy for the upcoming budget year, so the levy starts the process in November-ish, we get it approved November, December, it goes to the county clerk, and then the clerk registers that initial levy, and then we have a chance to adjust it in March-ish. We get to adjust it a little bit. There's certain limitations on what we can adjust, but we have to predict where we're going to need the most money at the end of the year. Certain funds you can transfer out of at the end of the year, certain funds you cannot. So we tend to put as much money into the education fund, which is our largest fund, as possible, because that's usually where we need, well, we always need the most money there, but that's where we anticipate shortfall. Sometimes we have a little bit extra and we can transfer into other funds that we need it. This year that fund would be O&M. So we're transferring some money back into operations and maintenance because we're a little high in that fund. We're a little bit over than what we projected. So did I sum it up?
Perfectly. Yes. Great.
And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Let's head on over to our regular school board meeting. Roll call, please. Yeah.
Ms. Boss?
Here.
Mr. Coleman?
Present.
Mr. Guziak?
Here.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Pederini?
Present.
Ms. Roberts?
Here.
We've already done the pledge, so we can skip that one. Nobody stepped in for the public comments. Does anyone have any non-action items they'd like to add to the? Action items, approval of final reading of the board policies for review. Do we have any comments on these?
I don't have any objections to anything, but there's an awful lot there, which we knew. I mean, we knew.
Yeah, because we didn't get some last time, yeah.
Was huge. There's just an awful lot there, especially with 615, the school accountability. While it's short, it
Yeah.
talks about the measures, and ISBE's measures. So there's a lot there, but I have no objections to anything.
Anybody else? Can we have a motion on this?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, the motion passes. Moving on to appointing Veronica Lynn Willis, board clerk. Does anybody have any questions about this?
I don't know. I mean.
Just keep it to yourself, Mr. Pederini. We have a motion on this?
I move to appoint Veronica Lynn Willis as board clerk.
I'll second that.
Do we need a voice vote on this?
No roll call.
Roll.
Oh,
We
you
do
do?
not?
Money.
That's fine.
Okay.
Ms. Boss?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Guziak?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
The motion passed.
Appoint Veronica Lynn Willis and Carly Kraft as FOIA officers.
I move to appoint Veronica Willis and Carly Kraft as FOIA officers.
I second that.
Roll call, please.
That's a voice vote.
That's a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. The motion passes. Approve the amendment to the IGA with the Woodland School District 50.
Okay, so we did this last year as well, where we shared an occupational therapist with Woodland. What we did is an intergovernmental agreement so that we do the payroll, we do the evaluation, and then Woodland gets to use her services as well. So it worked out well last year, and everybody seems to be okay and on board with it. So we wanted to do it again this year. So there it is.
Any questions? We have a motion.
I move to approve the amendment to the IGA with Woodland School District 50.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Boss?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Guziak?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
The motion passed.
Approval of the 2022-23 parent-student handbook. Did anyone have any questions on this?
Were there any major changes to this, or?
No,
I mean,
probably again, our biggest conversation was more was addressing things, but significant changes or anything was recommended from
We have a motion?
I move move to approve the 2022-2023 Parent Student Handbook.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Approval of district consolidated plan.
So the district consolidated plan, each year we have to approve this ahead of time almost before we even know how much money we have in that account, or in those funds. And what the state tried to do, and I've explained this before, is they tried to consolidate some of the grants, like the Title I grant, the Title II grant, the Title IV grant, some of the federal grants that are flowing through, and make it easier for us to have it all in one place. Well, that missed the mark. It's what most things do with state efficiencies. It's fine. I mean, there's some things that we don't have to repeat the same information in each page in the system, but generally that's the case. So this with Title I funding, we're gonna get 30-ish, 40,000 this year. Title II monies, we're gonna get about 20,000 this year. We may have some carryover in both of those accounts from last year, but we don't know what that carryover is yet. In Title IV, we get $10,000 for that. So it's pretty small amounts of money, and then we have to determine how we can spend it within the constraints that are given under each of those different grants. So we try to spend as much as we can in professional development out of those grants, because that's a cleaner, clearer flow through and makes it easier when you can say, okay, we spent it here, it came in here, and it's went out here. So as much as we can, we spend in professional development, plus we think that's kind of important. But we will report on how we spend it as we go through the year. But we have to approve the consolidated plan now. And the plan is to approve student learning.
Any other questions?
And if anybody wants to look at all the pages, I'd be happy to take you through it.
Is there a deadline on this?
We have to approve it before we can spend it.
If we can have a motion, please.
I move to approve the district consolidated plan.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lorenzen,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Federini,
Yes.
Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Boss,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Kuziak,
Yes.
the motion passed.
Approval of school lunch fees for 2022-23 school year.
Okay, so essentially we are looking to increase the student lunch fee from $3.10, which is what it was for a short period of time in 21-22 prior to the free lunches going into effect, up to $3.50 for 22-23, and then the student reduced lunch will remain at 40 cents. And then up on the screen here, you can see the different rates that will be charged for second entrees, adult food, and then other concessions that are sold at the middle school are down below.
Is the difference, Carly, in the adult price and the kid price because the kids are subsidized?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
we get some subsidy from the federal government
Yes.
for lunches?
Yes.
Through the,
Thank you.
no, that's okay. I can't always remember that, so.
I thought I heard news that they were renewing the free lunch again, or no?
What my understanding is that schools will get additional funding for fee waive students and potentially reduced students. I haven't heard that they're renewing the free lunches for all.
Any other questions?
Is this on par with normal increase? I mean, what other schools charge, that type of thing?
It is, and we review this with, our food manager, company, Arbor Management. And so when we met with them, this was, their recommendation as well, based off of the cost of, the food that they're purchasing.
You can have a motion, please.
I move to approve the school lunch fees for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Buziak?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Federini?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Voss?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
The motion passed.
Approval of the IDEA preschool, IDEA ARP, et cetera, and all these grants.
So this one, to be completely transparent, I'm probably not fully prepared to talk to. I believe some of it falls under the district consolidated plan.
Right.
The IDEA preschool, IDEA ARP, and the preschool ARP, those are our federal dollars from, for special ed essentially. The same concept, before we can start spending it, we need to approve these grants. And I know with the ARP, that was submitted prior to June 30th. This was the American Rescue Plan. This was about $40,000 that we recently learned that we're getting for special ed and special ed preschool. So again, the ARPs were submitted June 30th, and I believe the IDEA and IDEA preschool are either close to being finalized or were finalized within the last week. I'm not sure. The special ed group works on those.
Yep. Yeah, I know Anna was working on that specifically too.
Okay.
So again, we need board approval to get the funds, spend the funds.
For the grants sent to
The
the
grants.
government, and they give us money.
We don't control how much money we get, and we have a little bit of control on how we spend some of it, but most of this money is spent in special ed. Well, it has to be spent in special ed, but most of it's already planned, spent year over year. And some of it goes to reimburse for paraprofessionals, a small amount. It doesn't reimburse their whole salary, it's just a set amount per person. And some of our teachers get reimbursement through that for a certain set amount. It's, do you remember what it is? 7,500 rings a bell for one, I don't know which.
So, actually, under the IDEA grant, we do use a larger chunk of it, about $200,000 to cover paraprofessional salaries. And then from there, it's broken out into the different, I guess, subject matters of special ed. So social work, psychology, behavior disorder, and based on the upcoming needs for supplies and equipment and maybe curriculum materials, the special ed director will determine where to move those dollars. Another large expenditure under the IDEA grant is, well, two places. Technology is one of them, but the other one is professional development. So I would say, I think about close to 10% has to be spent on professional development out of this grant.
And these are recurring?
Yes.
This stuff happens every single
Yes.
year?
Yes.
Yep.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the IDEA preschool, IDEA ARP, IDEA preschool ARP, Title I and Title IIA grants. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Buziak?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Petterini,
Yes.
Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Voss,
Yes.
that motion passed.
Resolution to appoint Carly Kraft as IMRF authorized agent.
So somebody has to be an authorized agent to handle the IMRF employees and their pension payments, right? You would know a lot about this.
So this basically is, the IMRF is the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, and this just gives me I guess, the ability to answer questions and, file different forms under the IMRF plan for our day-to-day operations.
Any questions? Can we have a motion, please?
I move to approve the resolution to appoint Carly Kraft as the IMRF authorized agent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of classified salary recommendations.
What does that mean?
So this was a separate document, that listed out the specific, people who are considered classified.
Oh,
Oh, and it looks like.
apparently read my materials.
Has there been any departure, I mean, we've discussed this quite a bit, talking about trying to balance out people who've been here for a while versus those who, gotten a considerable increase. So has there been any changes since we last discussed this, or?
So as you probably recall, we, increased the bus drivers mid-year. And so to stay on par with what's going on in the transportation industry,
Yep.
we're recommending a $1 increase for all of our bus drivers. We did look at this in addition to our clerical staff, and I don't know, Jason, if you want to, if you were planning on adding a little
Sure.
bit more of information for that, but we looked at that group next, and the rates that were provided to you do include those increases as well.
So what we, with, classified staff, in our office admin, I can explain a little bit about our compensation philosophy and how we've been going about this for a long time. And so we try to match, we always look internally and externally for fair compensation. So we try to match the market, as monitor the market. We're not trying to match the average of the market because we're low. Millburn is generally low in every category, I believe, still. For a while we were high in a couple, but now everybody else, because of inflation, is surpassing us again. But we try to hit, as close to the middle as we can with our peers in the area, with all of our employee groups. And then if there's one employee group that's significantly lower than that, we try to get them up, et cetera, et cetera. So we try to balance it internally, we try to balance it externally. And then we also do that within that group. So within the group, sometimes because of the way that salary bumps happen, there's not a set schedule. Or if we hire somebody new and they come in at a higher rate in order for us to attract them than someone who's been here for a couple of years, then we try to adjust that person back. Because they've been here for a couple of years, they should be making more than someone who's been here 3 months. So we look at we try to balance that out. We also try to say, okay, how much, if someone has been here for 20 years, what should the gap be between someone who's been here 20 years and 10 years, for example, or 5 years, or starting. Try and balance all of that out. So that's what I did. And then not trying to take any money, we did not take any money away from anybody. We try to generally match what the rest of the employees are getting, which has been a 4% increase. So no one got less than a 4% increase. A couple people got a little bit more than that, and a couple people were also due for, in our administrative salary, we have bumps at, is it 5 years? Every 5 years, we worked with them in the past to give them a little extra bump every 5 years. So some people hit that mark this year, so they may look a little higher. So that's just our general thought process in salaries. So it's we try to be scientific, and sometimes it gets to be an art form as well. But we want to make it fair for everybody and keep everybody as fair as possible by some definition, and within the market. We try to keep a spitting distance within the market all the time.
Any questions? We have a motion, please.
I move to approve the classified salary recommendations.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Boss,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Guziak,
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Pederini.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Approval of the Millburn salary rates.
So this is our general rate sheet that we have for our starting salaries with different positions. That's what, if we have to go hire somebody, this is where we look to start someone. So that's where that's at.
And one thing, kind of to piggyback off of what Jason was saying with the classified salary rates, one thing that happens quite frequently in the HR world in Lake County school districts are regular surveys or queries that are sent out amongst the HR groups to find out what these different job categories are paying their people. So we're also, you know, a part of those conversations to make sure that we're competitive with neighboring surrounding districts.
So just looking at the substitute rates, have you been happy with being able to get substitutes, or has that been a challenge?
Yes. Relatively.
Happy, has it been a challenge?
Happy and concerned at the same time. So
Yeah.
there's definitely a shortage.
Yeah.
But when I compare what we had to do last year to at times when there were short days, which
Mhm.
were way too many, but it was far less than what other districts had to do, where they were pulling people every day from what their job should have been. For example, if we have a prioritization system, especially at the elementary school, where we have to have we have to have a teacher in the classroom, an adult in the classroom. So we may pull from a reading specialist into a classroom and cancel their reading support for that day. Or so we have 3 people that we could pull for that. Or our coaches, we have 2 coaches. In other districts, they were doing that almost every day, all year. And it was more of a rare occasion here where we had to go that deep into that. Or you could cancel PE, and the teacher would have to take them to PE, and they would have cross coverage pay. Did that happen, Ben? Did we ever have to do that? Did we go that far? We just had that in the back of our heads if we had to go.
Yeah, those are always their last resort. We didn't do PE or specials this year. We did a couple times. We did the interventionists. Sometimes we did our coaches.
Yeah.
But we try to be strategic because certain days of the week we're higher than others.
Right. And at the middle school, when teachers had a period off, so if in their schedule they had a team time or plan time, they could then opt to take on another class. piece it together that way. That was very frequent, and that was impactful. So when you say, yeah, we were better than others, but still, I don't want to see other services suffering because of
Yeah,
that.
but the rates now, you believe, will make us more,
Our rates have been one of the higher rates
okay.
already. I mean, we're not far off. There's some school districts who are going extreme and they're still struggling for
Right.
whatever reason.
And typically the schools that have the higher rates are high schools, or obviously our North Shore districts, but like Jason said, we are above average in terms of sub pay rates for daily rate.
Our best subs are our parents that we wrangled to come in.
In case you guys are interested.
Yeah. Seriously, I know Ben recruits, I know Jake recruits. I recruit every day for parapros and subs and bus drivers. If I see somebody who's, frequently dropping their kids off, or I know maybe they're not working or their job would allow them to do something like this, I'd say, hey, have you ever thought of being a sub? And it works. And that's how we get a good chunk of our good ones. We had, I think, 4 or 5 new ones last year that we just tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, we really need help. And Veronica's always recruiting too, to send out at the beginning of the year during open houses, put up the flyers and say, hey, we need help, we need help, we need help.
What do they need? What's the requirement?
Well, it was a 4-year degree of any sort. Now,
Short-term license, so there's different ones. The short-term license, meaning that they could be in there for maybe up to 2 weeks, maybe a week. Or some certain days, but they don't need a 4-year degree. I think it's just an associate's degree with that. But if it's more of a long-term, that's where you have to go
Then
for
it's their
certification.
bachelor's. Yeah, okay.
And then, or for our para subs, they would, just need 60 credit hours or take a test, I believe. And then they can sub only as a para, not as a teacher.
Any more questions?
Just real quick, the one area that I see is really dramatically increased, there's only the one, is in the social worker substitute. Is that just consulting fees? Do you have to go with independent consultants? Looks to be about a 15% increase.
yeah, that was to get up to what some of the other, like a speech therapist would be, to get into that range because they're similar.
Okay.
If we had to hire, if we had to hire a private company to do it, we'd be more than that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to be competitive in case we needed to. We don't have to, that we know of.
Mm-hmm. So this has been benchmarked and that now tells us we're
Yeah.
competitive. How common is that?
Not very common.
It's not common. Okay.
A social work sub would be a maternity leave usually,
Okay.
or a FMLA of some sort.
Yeah.
In the past is what we've done.
Okay.
I move to approve the Millburn salary rates.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
She's just coming back in.
Just log back in.
She didn't hear you, she wasn't.
Ms. Roberts?
I'm here. I'm sorry. Are we voting? Because it's a yes. I remember this from previous discussions.
Yeah.
We got it.
Ms. Voss?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Buziak?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Summer school pay MOU.
So this is an updated MOU from, it's very similar, in fact, almost exactly the same as last year's MOU for summer school. But because we don't have a summer school rate in our contract, in our last contract, we have to do a memorandum of understanding to be able to pay the teachers. We might have put it in the next one. Didn't we? I can't remember. I don't think we did. So if we do, because we haven't done summer school regularly, we can do a memorandum of understanding to continue to pay our teachers. So it's the same rates as last year,
I would take notes, put that in the next,
the next go round.
well, we got 2 years, so. Yeah.
It's quick. Very true.
Any other questions on this? Can we have a motion?
Move to approve the summer school pay MOU.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Federini?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Boss?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Guziak?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Approval of fund transfer resolutions. The ones we just talked about, right? I'm assuming we have no questions, but
This
Yeah.
is stuff we had the private meeting on or the
the
previous meeting.
previous meeting, yeah. We have a motion on this?
I move to approve the fund transfer resolutions.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Federini?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Boss?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Guziak?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Approval of the asbestos abatement project.
So we had a fun surprise a couple weeks ago as our part of our floor was being taken up for the new floors that we're putting in. The contractor found asbestos tiles underneath. So they weren't, the good news is they're still completely intact, and the machine that they used simply just took off the top layer. But because it's there, we need to remove the asbestos in order for the new floors to go down. So we worked with our environmental consulting company, Midwest Environmental. They came out, had several contractors come out and provide bids. The low bidder came in at just over $31,000, $31,300, I believe, to abate the asbestos, and then along with the fee from Midwest Environmental, which is $11,500. The total project to remove the asbestos in 2 small hallways and 2 classrooms is $47,800. The good news is this will be completed by or before August 10th. So the 2 classrooms will be fully functional before school starts.
How was this missed?
Because it was hidden under the current tile.
Okay. So we lost track of it somewhere? Because didn't we last year go through and say we have what, like only 3 classrooms up in one of the corner halls that has asbestos left? So how did this get missed? I understand it was under the tile this year, but I mean, I assume we had in the past a record of, we were shown last year, asbestos is in this space, and this space. So how did that fall through the cracks?
Because we knew, and it was visibly, apparent that the asbestos was there.
Okay.
I can see how, asbestos has been around a long time, and before there was all the abatement and regulations, it's probably at least 60 years old or so.
Right.
The tiles. So it could have been before there were strict regulations on it, or it just got covered over in the past.
And we just forgot about it in
Well,
the
It may
decades of.
never been reported. This could have been a
Well,
number of years ago.
That's my question.
When was the floor put down?
And then-
Yeah.
1962.
Yeah, 60
Oh,
years.
20 years before I was born.
There are a lot of people that have come and gone since 1962.
And to Sean's point, John, where it wasn't obvious, everywhere else, like the upper corridor where we still have it in a few classrooms, those tiles are 9x9s, so it's very obvious that they're asbestos.
Okay.
Everything after the time of asbestos had bigger tiles, 12x12. So these 12x12s were just put over the 9x9s.
Is there anywhere else where we think that might occur
No.
in the school?
No.
Yeah, this is,
Knock, knock on big wood. No, but what it was this section that came out of the old gym, which is now the STEM lab,
Okay.
and only the old section of the school has asbestos tiles. So now we know we've ripped up all the flooring in that part of the building. So all that's left is the new part of the building. To my knowledge, there's no asbestos in the new part of the
Yeah.
building.
correct. There wouldn't be in this part. That would be a real bad surprise and a lawsuit.
Could we face a lawsuit over this here?
Oh, no.
No?
No, as Carly mentioned, it's stuck down, so
Okay.
asbestos, it's called non-friable. It has to be friable, the fibers have to be powdered to be airborne.
Right.
And that's when you breathe it in and it gets in your lungs, and that's the problem. So this is stuck down, the asbestos is under the tiles. It's
But
in
even
part
when
of
they
the
peeled it off, there's nothing, you didn't get the
No.
magic.
No, there's no puff, it's glue.
Okay.
We'll see in the business office report too, there are a couple pictures. You can
Okay.
see it still completely intact.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. I mean, you can go down there.
I'd rather
You can
not,
even
but
walk
thanks
around.
for.
Go check it out.
Take a good whip.
Yeah, it's a good question. I did not anticipate, now I understand how they remodeled from the original gym.
Okay.
I didn't anticipate that that would be part of the original gym. I thought that was part of that next edition, like the 1977 edition that's in the second grade hallway. I would assume it was part of that because that's when they kind of remodeled that section. Because that space was the gym, then it was the library, and then it was a computer lab. Now it's the STEM lab. So I thought that was, I didn't know there was still an extension of the 1962 original piece of floor underneath that rest. It doesn't make sense. Now it does, but it didn't before. So you'd have to know that, and the only way you can find out if there's asbestos under there is to rip up the tiles.
When was the pile that was ripped up laid down? That was just ripped up.
That would have been the 77, with the 77 remodel,
Okay.
when it became a library.
So it's been covered since '77.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Do we have a motion on this?
I don't know if it's 77, whatever year-ish.
Roughly.
I
Which
move,
is why we're putting down new tiles now.
Right.
I move to approve the asbestos abatement project, as stated under point N.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Buziak?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Voss?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Approval of the purchase of 31 Mac computers for the MMS Tech Lab.
So the Millburn Middle School is in need of new computers in their tech lab. What they have currently is pretty outdated. So we received a quote from Apple for 31 iMac computers, $45,136. The good news is since we received reimbursement from the Emergency Connectivity Fund that was able to help pay for our iPads, we have the funding to purchase these computers.
How long do these last? Like, what's the turnover on these? I know the iPads relatively quick, or it's like,
No, we squeeze about 8 years out of our
oh, really? Out of the iPads?
desktops. Oh, not the iPads, the desktops. These are desktops.
Okay, 8
So
years.
these are a little heavier duty for in the lab. And she's trying to do some different things with the kids, and some of the software
Yeah.
that she's trying to run is not compatible with the old system. So they're no longer upgradable. They're kind of limping along, but these might even be more than 8 years. I can't remember the last time we bought a desktop.
Are we getting anything back for the old ones? Any money back?
I don't know if we're getting. We always, with all of our equipment, go through a recycling program that sometimes they give us money if there's any value. But there's not that many of them, so we went to like we've done in the past with the iPads, where the last ones they're worth $200 a piece.
Right,
Yeah, that's not.
so there's really no
It's not-
value.
No. We'll get maybe a little bit, but they're pretty much done.
Yeah. Okay. I guess one other question, could you be a little bit more specific as to how they're going to use them? Maybe what software wasn't able to run, or what they're trying to do with them?
I can't, but I could put you in touch with our tech people, or Mrs. Ko would know what she was trying to do.
Okay.
I'm going to interject really quick. I'm sorry. I'm done. I can't do anymore.
Oh,
Sorry. I'm going to bow out. Thanks, guys. Sorry.
Thanks.
See you, boss.
thanks for making.
Where were we? Oh,
Mrs. Ko
okay.
is the teacher, and Mrs. Lancaster is the instructional technology coordinator.
I never had a desktop, but personally I had a MacBook Pro, and it lasted about 10 years, and then I couldn't update any of the software anymore. It was like, that was it, you're done. So I had to get it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's not a matter of whether they should have them or not. It's
Yeah.
I'm just a little curious as to what it is they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no, we should.
Yeah.
What are
Could have
some
a
of the,
presentation
I
about
mean,
that.
because that's a lot of horsepower that they're asking for, and it's just a little curious.
do we
Yeah,
know
in a
some
good
of
way.
some of the projects they normally do in the tech lab offhand, or no?
I don't right now, because I know she's told me, and they're cool, but I can't remember.
She told
It's
me
been a
they're
couple
cool.
But no, we'll be happy to do a presentation, or if you'd like to go visit that lab. She's got a lot of ideas, because we have the beautiful STEM lab here. We're trying to take that knowledge and enhance that at the middle school and get that going.
That STEM lab at the middle school was still pretty nice when I was there last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you visited.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
Mrs. Kale's class.
Yeah,
Yeah. She was doing some cool stuff,
she was.
and she wants to take it another level up. It's good.
Any other questions?
Do we need to, Jim, do you want to table this, or you okay with approving this? Just out of curiosity, I mean, you want time to talk to,
Oh, no,
Okay.
that's fine. Again, I'm looking at it from a different angle. I'm kind of wondering what
yeah,
what they're doing, and
printing out fake IDs?
oh, hell, we could do that with this.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm fine. I'm just a little curious as to what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. I move to approve the purchase of 31 iMac computers for the Millburn Middle School Tech Lab in the amount of $45,136.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Buziak,
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Pederini,
Yes.
Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Boss is absent. The motion passes.
Approval of super eval in the amount of $3,695.
Okay, so this was what we talked about, a month ago, purchasing for doing the superintendent evaluation and also the admin evaluation would work for that, as well, so. I got a quote, that's what it is. Any questions? And then I think, Peter and Vanessa have been doing a lot of work with the evaluation. So I'm assuming that you two would wanna do the training, or I could talk to them about what that
Yeah,
involves.
that'd
If it's
be
all
fine.
board training, I
Sure.
don't think it'd be too complicated. but-
Yeah.
But you guys looked at it and you think it's a worthwhile investment?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty similar to some of the stuff we use for our evaluations at where I'm at Round Lake, and it's pretty easy to use. I mean, you can copy and paste, you can just fill out all these different areas. It's pretty intuitive, it's not complicated at all. Yeah.
Worth 3,000 as opposed to using like a Google Doc that we
I
have?
don't know. I mean, I don't know the in-depths of it. But it sounds like it's populated with some good stuff on here. And, I mean, that's about my limit, about what I know about Super Eval. Sounds like most people are using it, right? A little less clunky than the Google form type of thing. You can probably save your data year after year, stuff like that.
So, yeah, I just have a few questions. One, the platform fee, that's basically a subscription fee, and then the very bottom one is the licenses. Now, to me, I would assume that those are gonna be recurring annual costs, right?
Correct.
Has there been any discussion, on the potential of using this internally with other administration? Or no? As, you know, just set up your other administration members for
Yes.
personnel review?
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Okay, so that was my assumption, but I noticed the platform fee, which I would call the annual subscription fee.
Yes.
Is for one eval. Has there been any digging into what it would cost for additional?
No, that's the total. Let me see what you're looking at.
I'm just looking at the line item and the way that it's phrased here.
And what is the 7 below it? Is that for?
The 7 is the other.
Those are licenses, yeah, but I'm talking about the platform fee, which I would call the subscription fee.
That's flat. That's just for access to the program.
Right.
But it says accounts needed for
For one evaluation. So that's my assumption here, is that you
Yeah, so-
couldn't use it for principals or other
Yeah, I
members.
could use it. No, I could use it for everybody. So you have to have the platform fee to get one.
Yeah, I would be very cautious on this, just regarding the verbiage here on the platform fee. It says only, it needed for one evaluation. Fee includes use of the platform and accounts needed for one evaluation.
Should we table it for 2 weeks?
He has a point.
It could be
Yeah,
more specific.
just because it's not hard to get burned here.
Yeah. And I say, oh yeah, we have to add 6 more of those.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want
No,
it.
that wouldn't make any sense to me. I mean, I explained what we want to do. To him.
Yep.
Yeah, I do that.
Exactly.
I've done that too.
That's what you would like to do, yep.
So before we approve this, we wanna.
That's all I would say, is if, you know, we can check, I mean, if that's the intent, and I think it makes sense, right?
I think that's fair.
It seems to be a good tool and should be used more broadly if we're going to be paying that, but I would just ask that either they revise this verbiage, or, I mean, it should be clarified, I've had plenty of experience with software vendors.
So we wanna wait on approving this until he answers that question?
Are we
or
okay? Are we okay
Approve
to
it
approve?
with the stipulation that.
Well, he did explain it to me, but it's that, I
He
don't know what you're
explained it,
saying
yep.
with that.
He explained it, and I just read that. And that's what we're approving, we're not approving his explanation, we're approving that.
Right.
So get it in writing that this applies to,
Yeah, well, yeah, I
Multiple
would just say,
employees.
ask for clarification needed for one evaluation, and if the salesperson says, oh no, you could do multiple evaluations with this, if you just pay the subscription. Say, okay, then I would like that revised to say, platform includes the use of the platform and accounts needed for multiple evaluations,
Sure.
annual evaluation. I just,
Yeah, it won't hurt.
yeah, it doesn't hurt, right?
Nope. No, that's fine.
We'll come back on this one in a month.
Yeah. We're
Um,
okay on that, right? There's no concerns over delaying a month here?
Well, even if there's concerns,
You looking at me?
Yeah,
and the
I
concern
mean, Jim,
is,
you know,
yeah,
right?
unfortunately, yeah, I've been burned with hardware, so, yeah. He really does have, he has a legitimate point,
Oh, yeah.
and.
I'm not arguing the
I-
point.
yeah,
It's just,
And I think you deserve a raise, that was a good catch.
we'll triple your salary for
You
this.
are
Double
amazing.
Never got me one before.
I mean, that'll put us at what, August 11th, when do we start?
Yeah,
Right around there?
which is where we're supposed to be when we do, was it 2022s?
Right,
Mhm.
Like 2021,
that's, yeah, that's
I mean, we've technically decided to do 2021, so good luck.
Yeah,
I think there's time, you know, even if we get this a month from now, to learn it and populate it and all that stuff, it's not that tough. Assuming it's similar to what
Can
I've
we,
used before.
can we do it, can we do it again under that system? You know, if we
The way
do-
we had it earlier?
Well, the way it's presented, you know, can we do one eval for 2021, one eval for 2022, and get ready for one eval for 2023?
but what we're talking about is the ability to do evaluations of the other administrators.
Right.
Right, what is that,
But this is also another good question.
This is
because we're
another
planning
good
on
question.
doing him
Can you-
twice.
Right.
if we have to evaluate him 3 times, does that only account for one
Well,
evaluation?
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, the platform fee I would equate to an annual subscription.
Right, but we're using 3 years in 3 months, is my point.
And maybe these are some questions you can ask of them and say, because we wanna do a retro.
Another consideration is maybe approving this as it is, and then if we find that there is a need to, that there are additional costs for you to use it effectively, then bring that to vote.
This is approving the money. When does the
This-
contract get signed?
not till it's fixed.
Not
I
till-
could do, you could do that.
We could do that,
Improve the money.
and then if there's additional cost,
I can confirm it before we sign it, because I haven't signed anything yet.
Okay.
And the board is, all the board is doing is giving me.
we'd be
permission to
approving
spend the
this
money.
Right.
budget,
Not to
the
exceed,
release of these funds, yeah.
not to exceed the
And
36.
maybe what we should do is go a bit more than that 36.95, in case there is some additional cost, no?
No, I
Okay.
don't.
That way,
No.
he's got on the bargaining point. I can't go above this. He's
Right,
all-
right.
No,
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah,
It'll be fine, but it's good to check.
I mean, cause sometimes the additional amount is very, very minimal,
Yeah.
but that 36.95 is a hard line. So we could vote to approve that currently as it is.
Up to 36.95 for 8 evaluation, or 7 total evaluation licenses.
That says
1 superintendent, 6. I
It
know I have
says
7, but,
36 and this says 39.45.
right, because I counted 1 today, so
Okay, okay.
when
Thank
the
you.
new contract gets done, it'll be 6, not 7. I always start high, go low.
Might ask about doing it for multiple years.
That I can ask.
Yeah.
Because if we have to do it for 3 years for him, in 3 months.
I mean, do we have to?
You know, it's
Well,
like,
we're doing one tonight, so
Right.
2 years.
2 years.
Right.
So we should confirm here, the platform fee, is that an annual subscription to gain access to the platform? And then, how many evaluations are permitted? You know, does the annual platform fee allow us to do unlimited evaluations? So that's a question. That's what it sounds like he said to you, right?
Yeah, so evaluations for you, and then evaluations of other admin.
Yeah.
Right,
The platform.
and how many of,
The platform fee includes.
right.
Yeah. That's how he explained it to me, but that's,
And
I
then-
understand.
I would just say that the price on this agenda item is $39.45, and what we have there is $36.95,
Right, because I backed one out.
one of the licenses.
Yeah.
Okay. So this should reduce down to 6.
Are we all clear? Any more questions? Do we have a motion on this one?
Are we moving it under the assumption it's this?
Not to exceed this,
Right.
provided that
Yes.
we get one superintendent evaluation plus 6 administrators
And we can use it for multiple.
and use it for multiple years.
So do we, and then we can change it if we need to, right? Do we
Yeah,
need
so
to change
change-
the verbiage on
Let me
it?
ask, when you say the 6 administrators, when this is referring to licenses, we as users, are we required to have a license to go in and perform the evaluation?
That's another question.
Well, here it says it
There's a lot
includes
of
us.
questions when it comes to this. Because to me, these are licenses, right? I mean, is everyone who accesses it required to have a license? That's what I would assume. You would have an annual subscription and then a license fee.
Yeah, some things work that way.
And are they named users, or are they,
Could you say BOE?
or just,
Yeah,
But
I'm
BOE
sorry.
and or can you say BOE and everybody shares a password?
Yeah, but we can't do that
Yeah,
if
but
we're rating
we-
you, if we're rating you differently.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
If my rate's different than Pete's rate, we need to sign on
right.
independently.
that's right.
it does say all board members, so in the superintendent license, it includes, accounts for superintendent, executive assistants, district clerk, and all board members. So it looks like we all have access. The way I understand this, looking at the numbers, it looks like so platform fee is kind of this base subscription. The startup fee would be, let's set it up initially. And then the central office administrator license, there's 7 of those, so you pay $250 for each evaluation you do. That's kind of how I'm reading it.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, to me, there's some questions here.
All right.
It
I'll
could
check
be
it out.
they would charge us like the extra $250 if we're doing 2.
Yeah, I'd be
2
more
years
comfortable
for
if we
him.
push this off. I mean, there seems to be a lot of, if we can get more detail on it.
Well, we're approving a set amount.
Right,
But
this
he's gonna
amount,
get
right.
our questions answered, and if he
Right.
doesn't feel they're answered correctly, he can say,
Right.
I gotta go back to my board and talk to him.
Because it would be nice to start training before school starts. Our next actual regular meeting is after school starts.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think actually this 39,
When's the soonest we could vote on it?
Tonight. Well, you could make the next
Other
meeting
than
special.
Yeah,
Right
could
now.
we, I mean, could we go into a closed
could.
session?
No,
We
we
could
could go
do a
to, just
special
make
Have
a
a
meeting.
special meeting after, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I mean, if we could get the questions answered, then I would be happy to do that in 2 weeks. To me, that would make sense. When it comes to licensing, you've gotta be really cautious. Like, if you wanna do all your staff, direct staff on that, are they gonna need a license? Is it just an administrator license? Is that just for someone who's inputting the information? Or is a user who's evaluating also required to be a licensed user? Are they named users or concurrent users? Because if it's $250 a piece for everybody, they could start racking up.
So you guys
What's
wanna do
involved
it?
if we have to have a special meeting?
What's that?
What's involved if we have to have a special meeting?
It's another agenda.
We have to notify the public 2 days before. 4 people have to show up and vote yes.
Okay.
I mean, we typically have them before the committee of the whole meeting. That's what we would do.
Can we have it before the committee of the whole meeting?
What?
Can we have the special meeting
Connected to, you start with, yeah, we do
connected
this
to
a
the
lot.
committee of the whole meeting in August?
Yeah. The only real requirement is notification and quorum.
Yeah, I just know I'm not gonna be here in 2 weeks, if we wanna stick a special meeting in there.
No, yeah, no. It'd be
Yeah,
first
August
weekend in
8th.
August. It's okay, that would work too. There might be other things to put on a special meeting. Usually that first meeting in August is a special meeting, because we're hiring so many people, we'd like to get them on the books, so. We'll add it to the list.
Sounds good. Does anyone have anything they'd like to remove from the consent agenda? If not, do we have any questions on it?
No.
Can I have a motion, please?
Oh, actually, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Brendan, one question. Is the consent agenda, does that include the hires, the personnel report?
Yes.
Okay. Where was that? Karen Endy, or Enda? MES paraprofessional to MES paraprofessional.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I can explain that. So,
Okay.
she actually was going to leave us, retire,
Yeah.
resign at the end of the year, and decided not to, so she's staying. So I believe on a previous agenda, we may have had her as a termination, but then
Okay.
she decided she is staying with us, lucky for us.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Any insight into Miss Bell Nance's move to Phys Ed from third grade?
Yeah, so, the woman who we recruited the PE position,
Yeah.
and so we went through the interview process, she was interested.
Oh, good
We
for
had
her.
interviews,
Yeah.
she selected and won there, which then created a hole in her third grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's very excited.
Oh, good, that's good.
Anything else? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Guziak,
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Petterini,
Yes.
the motion passes.
Information and discussion. We have another 2 FOIA requests. District goals, superintendent evaluation, which we will go in a closed meeting for tonight. Cloud exchange, IASL.
So, thought, I'd take any questions on any of them, but the only thing that I need is thought exchange. Just a consensus of if we're interested in renewing that. I've been negotiating with them for a while. They're trying to, again, out there, push us into the full program, which starts at $24,000. And I said, no, I'm sorry, that's out of our range. We don't have that kind of money for that system, even though I like it. They got it down to 15,500, I believe. So it's a matter of, the board sees enough value in it. It's been a good community outreach, I think, and
How does that compare with last year, or the last contract?
good question. It was just over 12,000.
Now, is that for the full, or that's for how we use it?
It's for how we use it, so it's not the full, but this would allow us to have a couple extra rooms, so the principals could use it in their
Okay.
program. So it would be just not, it could be used by someone other than me, which would be good. So we get a little bit more functionality. So it's on for discussion. I will put it on the August special meeting, now agenda for approval. And then if you have any feedback or thoughts, please let me know.
Yeah, and email some questions so you can research them beforehand,
Yeah.
so you'll have them, if you think of them beforehand. Future agenda items, put on the super eval, board policies, district goals. Okay. Anything else we want to add? Superintendent's report.
Well, we ended summer school the week before July 4th, and it was a successful summer school program. All the kids got home and to school every day. It was wonderful. We had over a couple hundred kids involved in it, which was great. And I got some feedback actually tonight from a parent, from a middle school parent, which is really difficult sometimes to engage middle school students that want to come to school. And she said it was awesome and loved it. So that's from one satisfied customer, and happy parent and student. And so I've heard good things from parents, and should probably do a thought exchange to them. That's a good idea. Just thought of that right now.
So did I hear it said that we don't always have summer school?
Yeah, right, because we had it many years ago when I first started here, and then it kind of faded out because there's been so many competing entities with summer camps and sports, and it was hard to get kids to show up, getting harder, and it's expensive to run. It's very expensive, so it just kind of faded. It took a natural turn to, this isn't worth our efforts anymore. We need to focus on other things.
Right.
What triggered it was last year the ARP funding. A certain percentage of our money has to go to summer school, after school programs in order to use the federal funds for the American Rescue Plan.
Okay.
So we have money to spend there, and that's one good way to spend it.
How many years do we have this one?
We have last year, this year, and we can still spend it next year if we have any left. So we'll have to figure out if we have enough left and what's our best use. We can spend it on after-school programming too, which we're looking at beefing up some of our after-school programming for kids who might need a boost. So we're targeting, and we changed our, I don't know if you guys paid attention or had kids in it, but we changed our focus this year. Last year we were just trying to get kids into school because if you recall that was just a broken up year. This year we really focused on those kids who were starting to fall behind in those younger grades to make sure they showed up and got the support, the extra time. That was our main focus. And middle school is more of a little bit of that, a little bit of academic, but more of a engagement. Problem solving. They did some fun stuff.
Is it based on grades, or what? How would a kid get into summer school? Was it volunteer? Did the parents?
So we started the process. I worked with Mr. who is supporting summer school, just to kind of look at how do we start identifying students that need that extra support. So it really came back down to the grade level teams, the teacher teams.
Okay.
And kind of our whole process throughout the year is how do we identify students that need that support. So we look at different forms of data. Maybe it's map testing, we use our reading leveling system, our IXL, whatever data we can use to start prioritizing who are most at-risk students. And so that was a process that we've been doing all year. And so when it came down to identifying students, we just kind of looking at how many teachers are going to do summer school and what class sizes are going to be.
Yeah.
We identified probably around 15 to 20 students per grade level to see. And we first then start out with invites because we currently, since this is an invitation, not all families are going to be able to do it.
Right.
And so then based on that, then if one person can do it, who's the next one we want to invite? So we really are using data to help us decide who are the students we need. Grades, we don't necessarily use grades at that point because actually we're naturally moving towards standards-based grading anyway, so we're going to be looking at skills anyway.
Okay.
So it's another way that we help identify those kids.
Okay. In general, how did the parents feel about it? If they were approached and said, hey, you know,
Yeah,
your
well,
kid
definitely,
could,
definitely we wanted to make sure that the homeroom teachers were the ones that connected with those parents about why.
okay.
We didn't want another teacher or Ms. Berg or myself to say, hey, you're invited.
Sure.
We were advertising it for quite a few months about what our process was gonna be, so it wasn't a surprise, like, if you're gonna get invited, you're a home teacher, because that teacher's gonna know more about that child than anybody else, because they worked with them all year.
Makes sense.
So we wanna make sure they were the first connection with parents. So honestly, I haven't heard, pros or cons from parents about that.
Okay.
But, maybe that's another reason why maybe we'll do the thought exchange, to kind of see how was that set up. I will tell you, we did have parents that wish they could have done summer school.
Right.
But once we advertised it, it's more of a remedial summer school than an enrichment. I think they understood that aspect, but I can't verify that.
Okay. Again, makes sense. All right, thanks.
So when we bring this up next year as an idea, we probably want to see if there's any hard data on effectiveness, whether people learn, how much they learn, what they learn, that kind of stuff, so. Thinking about that before we get there.
That's it for me. Pretty quiet here last week, and I was not here.
That's it. Business office report.
So I think we covered the majority of things, and this actually, to be truthful, was Dr. Johns's, the bulk of this was Dr. Johns's last business report, from June that we're carrying forward. But if you scroll all the way to the very bottom, there are a couple of things you can kind of work backwards. So there are the pictures, and there's one more just further below. That gives you a better visual of the tiles there. So you can see they're still completely intact.
So that was all underneath the other floor, the newer floor?
Yep. And this isn't paint, this basketball free throw line is not paint, it's inlaid tile.
Nice.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
That would be
Pretty sweet.
expensive.
Can't afford to do that anymore.
No, wouldn't do that.
Okay, so this is the asbestos tile that we're looking at.
Yeah.
This is before anything is removed.
So it was the whole, was it the whole gym?
Well, originally, this is one classroom, so,
Okay.
you know, the classroom was just part of the free throw line there.
Okay.
So this would have been the west end of the gym. And the east end of the gym is now, I don't know where it would be. To the east.
We lost it.
It's gone.
It's not easy to do.
So in the hidden part of the free throw line there, on the left, that's already been cleaned up, or is it, there's still stuff buried under there? Cause it looks like that's half of the free throw.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So underneath that wall there, is there more asbestos possibly?
Oh, well, this is a wall. This is a brick wall. This is a whiteboard here with the tray and actually a blackboard. Interesting.
But obviously, that was
connects to
another
specs.
half of the
You have a
gym.
brick wall and you have,
They would, to put the brick wall there, they would have to
They-
put footings
they're-
under there, so that
Yeah,
would
so
have
they
been
cleared all
chopped
that
up.
stuff right.
Hopefully they had masks.
The other side of the wall, the other classroom?
Yeah,
and we know that classroom's
same.
clear.
No, that's,
It's
this
the, it's also that.
is just one picture.
So it was what, 2 classrooms then?
Maybe this isn't the east end or west end, maybe this is the east end, the coordinates. I can't picture this.
Yeah, that's.
It's west, and then I'm assuming the east part was the STEM lab.
Yeah,
Yep.
that would make sense.
Yep. And then if you scroll up to above the flooring project, this was one thing that wasn't right there, the cyber liability, identity theft insurance. So every year we get an invoice around June from our insurance cooperative. And the thing that we're pointing out here is that there just was an incredibly high increase in cyber liability insurance. Last year we paid just over 11,000. This year it's just over 35,000. That's a lot. I was pulling up the email that came along with the invoice, and there isn't. They did not provide a great explanation for why. Just this is what we're doing, and they're still able to continue providing us with the $2 million in cyber coverage with this rate. But I also was looking at the rest of the invoice with all of the different insurances in here, and while maybe it's a smaller amount, $1,000 for student accident or these different line items, most of them did go up, a little bit, not as much as,
Not triple.
and some tripled, but they're smaller amounts to begin with, $500, so, then $1,500, it's not as hard to stomach.
I mean, is there another, I guess we have to use this cooperative?
Right.
Okay, so we don't have a choice.
Right.
And Carly, do you know if there's a good resource that can quantify the damages that come from a cybersecurity breach of the school? And is there a greater rate at which this is happening, Or do they just not, you said they didn't give a lot of explanation for this.
Right. I can find out, I can reach out to Clerk and see if they can provide that information.
Because that seems crazy.
Yeah.
Seems like you could be burying other increases in this. Because I just think for a school, yes, you have personal information.
So the way it
Wonder what
works,
the damages are.
yeah, the way these guys are getting the money, that was a question I had too, because I didn't understand it. Is they'll lock down all your information, shut you down, and
Yeah.
then ransom.
Yeah,
So they'll say,
ransomware.
pay us $5 million.
Yeah. Is
And
it,
so school districts have had to pay because they're stuck.
is it common? Is it,
We
and then
had
I guess that's part of the
one of
question,
our
I'm sorry.
connecting school districts last summer.
Uh-huh.
So in this area, it's been them for sure. It's been a couple of others in the suburbs.
So that's
So-
why, because if they're a part of the co-op and they get hit
Right,
and they have to
right.
pay out.
Right,
Yeah,
so
then
I
it
guess
all
that's my
increases.
question. So this increase will definitely cover whatever ransom they're charging?
Well, up to 2
Up
million.
to,
Up to 2 million, yeah. Which, if I'm them,
the ransom people know that.
I'm asking for more than 2
Right.
million. Why not? 2 million's automatic. Yeah, it would just be good to know the reason for the increase. That's triple.
They provide us some security too, or they require us to do some security?
Yes, yep, and we're working on that. That's why we had to hire Net 56,
Yeah.
which will be paying
Yeah.
another 18,000 a year.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. Let me ask the question this way, who handles our security? Our cybersecurity?
Our IT staff, but we
Okay.
use vendors to do dirty work, the tougher parts. So we've hired a consultant to tell us, and to do some digging and probing, to
Right.
tell us where our weaknesses are. Now, we've already done, we have firewalls in play, there's certain things that we've already done,
Right.
basic things, but we need to go a little bit deeper to understand where our weakest areas are.
Okay, and, whoever these consultants are that we've hired, I guess, sometime in the past, do they do penetration testing?
Yes.
Is this something that
Yep.
that we get as part of this?
We had a list of this last month, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Say
a
again?
few months ago, we hired them, and they had a list of all the testing that they do. So they'll put a device, I don't know if they've done it yet, but they put a device on our network and monitor the traffic,
Right.
and then they'll do some other penetration tests, they'll do phishing, so they'll email the staff some fake stuff, and they'll say, well, you've got 10 people that clicked on it and downloaded something they shouldn't have, and then you do more training. The next time you might get 5 people that click on something and download it, and you do more training.
Okay. So if there is a breach, who's responsible? Is it the consulting company or our IT people?
The school district insurance covers it.
Okay, so
So the
the cybersecurity
Yeah, it'd be a criminal
professionals
activity.
are on-site people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're covered by our insurance, and this would be a criminal activity.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care, but, you know,
Okay. All right, thanks.
yeah, it's not negligence on our part, it's somebody coming from the outside trying to do harm to our district. We need to do all we can to stop them, that's why our insurance company is saying, you have to have, this is your minimum bar, and that's gonna keep going up.
Right,
So it's
it's
gonna
Yeah.
get more and more expensive.
shocking that it triples in 1 year, but
Oh,
if there's been,
that's a small fee, that's a small amount compared,
yeah,
the
but
preventative stuff that we're going to have to do in a few years is going to be
Yes.
50, 100,000 a year just to maintain surveillance on the network. That's what I'm talking about, and then insurance.
and then insurance kicks in, but to triple the insurance, more than triple the insurance rates.
Right.
Someone someone in Click was hit,
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
so that's what we're paying for.
Well, I know one last summer for sure,
And
and it's expensive.
when did we start?
Yeah.
When did we start paying liability insurance for cyber? Is this just a couple of years, or has this been going on for?
It's been multiple years, yeah. I don't know if you have those records.
Not readily available. I'm digging. I can find out.
Any other questions on this?
I think we covered everything in the beginning part of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Does anyone have any board reports for us? We have a motion to go to closed meeting for number one, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on the complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreation, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body, or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this act. Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
Roll call.
Ms. Boss? Mr. Coleman?
Present.
Mr. Bouvier?
Here.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
The board enters into closed session.
When we return, we are not taking any action.